Let's get to the point fast. Ole Miss versus Mississippi State is my favorite rivalry in college football because I like messy drama. And over the course of over 100 years of competition, no single college football rivalry has supplied more messy drama than the Egg Bowl. This episode of Rivalries is presented by Allstate. I love this rivalry. It may not sound like it sometimes when I'm talking about it, but just like with family members or close friends or beloved dogs that get into the trash too much, sometimes telling the truth about it sounds like you're talking bad about them. I'm not. I'm just saying what happened. What other rivalry has had the stadium collapse before the game even starts? What other rivalry featured a coach handing his players alcohol mid-game and then quitting his job immediately afterwards? Field goals struck down by the hand of God, sabotaging the other team's last chance at a bowl game repeatedly, 0 championship stakes, repeated brawls between fan bases, comebacks, more turnovers than should be humanly possible, doomed coaches' entire careers riding on the line, and yes, that time a player in a nationally televised football game pretended to be a peeing dog, changing the course of not only that game, but the history of both programs. It's the best. I love the Egg Bowl, and I'm going to tell you why you should too. This is another classic rivalry setup. Ole Miss is bow ties, future gentlemen lawyers, the Grove, and tailgating under the Magnolias. Mississippi State, originally known as Mississippi Agricultural and Mechanical College, is your farmers and engineers. They have a really good dairy store on campus, including Bully's Premium Ice Cream. It's the one with the bulldog on the label. It's delicious. The differences between the two brands really couldn't be more drastic. Ole Miss fans hang little chandeliers in their tailgating tents. They use chafing dishes for catered pregame brunches in the Grove. If you want to go to a place where students still sometimes wear ties to the game, Oxford is your best bet. Mississippi State swings 180 degrees in the other direction. Think overalls, fishing shirts, more gigantic trucks in the parking lot than your mind can comprehend. The cowbell is the signature Mississippi State game day accessory, if you want to know just how hard they represent their farm boy roots. I've sat in their press box for games. The sound of 40,000 of them ringing at once will haunt your dreams. It should have been a sign of things to come that the two diametrically opposed schools couldn't even get their first game off the ground without an argument. In 1901, no one did anything until the two squads could decide on the eligibility of Norvin E. Billy Green, a Mississippi State player who'd played for Ole Miss the year before. They eventually figured it out after some heated argument, and State won their first matchup 17-0. In 1907, Ole Miss coach Frank A. Mason tried to revive the spirits of his tired, muddy players by giving them an urn full of coffee spiked with whiskey. You'll never guess how that panned out. You will, actually. Ole Miss lost 15-0, and they played worse in the second half than they did in the first. Mason, when someone asked him if they were headed back to Oxford that night, said, "Yes, the team is going north at 11 o'clock. I'm going in another direction, and I hope I never see them again." He never coached another game of football after that and went to work in a bank. Oh, and in 1911, a newly installed set of stands at the state fairgrounds collapsed before kickoff, injuring 60 people. The game went on anyway, and Mississippi State won 6-0. Even the trophy comes with a history of fisticuffs and confusion. In 1926, Ole Miss snapped a 13-game losing streak by beating Mississippi State 7-6. The ensuing on-field brawls between the fan bases were so intense that both schools felt a token of sportsmanship was necessary to reestablish something like order. A football-shaped trophy was purchased. Well, a sort of football-shaped trophy was purchased. There's supposed to be seams on it, but most people did what you would do when looking at it and said, "That there's a golden egg." So the battle for the golden egg began. The shorthand version of the name comes from the Clarion Ledger columnist Tom Patterson, who coined the term Egg Bowl in 1979 when both teams, at 3-7 each, had precisely 0 to play for. Being ingenious marketers, the paper decided to roll with the new name and create an entire special section for the otherwise meaningless game. The name stuck. This madness is how the whole thing started. Now that you know this, the rest will make slightly more sense. Best moments. 1983, the Immaculate Deflection. Down by 1 with 24 seconds left in the game, Mississippi State kicked what should have been a 27-yard game-winning field goal. Freshman Artie Cosby nailed it, but as the 40-yard attempt neared the goalpost, a blasting 40-mile-an-hour wind roared in, knocked the ball dead midair, and the Rebels held on to win 24-23. That's Mother Nature picking a side. What did you do to her, Mississippi State? Ask yourselves this question. 1997. Both teams come into the game looking for a precious bowl slot. Things got started with a robust pregame fight, and then, trailing 14-7 with 2:12 left, Ole Miss mounted a frantic 64-yard drive, ending with a TD pass to wide receiver Andre Rome. Ole Miss went for two in the win, and wideout Corey Peterson hauled in a two-point conversion from QB Stuart Patridge for a 15-14 Rebels lead with just 25 seconds left on the clock. Peterson, when he was asked about that two-point conversion, later said, "I just pray every day that I caught that ball, or else I might have had to transfer to Delta State or somewhere out of Mississippi." Mississippi State throws an interception in the waning seconds, and 7-win Ole Miss went to their first bowl game in 5 years. And the Bulldogs got absolutely nothing. 2013, an injured Dak Prescott comes off the bench in the fourth quarter, with the Bulldogs trailing by a field goal. On his second series, he leads them to the game-tying field goal and overtime. In an OT, he runs in to win it.
Prescott. Forget about it. Touchdown, Mississippi State.
See, it's not him, Dallas Cowboys fans. It's your team. 2019, the mother of all Egg Bowls. Take a deep breath. First, some build-up and context for help. In the 2017 game, DK Metcalf celebrated a touchdown in the Rebels' 31-28 win by mimicking a peeing dog in the end zone. In 2018, there's a big old fight and a blowout win by the Bulldogs. The powder keg is usually full in the Egg Bowl, but by the time 2019 rolls around, it's practically overstuffed with explosive potential. With 7 minutes and 30 seconds left in the game, and Ole Miss trailing 21-14, Matt Corral comes in for a benched John Reese Plumlee. On his first possession, Corral throws a pick in the red zone, but on his second, Corral hustles Ole Miss to a touchdown with a short pass to Elijah Moore. Moore then gets on all fours and pretends to pee like a dog, just like DK Metcalf did. But this time, the ensuing unsportsmanlike call pushes the extra point for kicker Luke Logan back 15 yards. He misses it. Mississippi State becomes bowl eligible at 6-6, and 4-win Ole Miss fires its coach Matt Luke 2 days later. Mississippi State, for the record, also fires its coach after the season, presumably so they wouldn't feel left out. Best plays. You may have noticed a 1999-sized hole in that last section. That's because the pick part of the pick and the kick is an individual effort worth building that kind of drama. The 99 game was a perfect disaster for one team and a complete miracle for the other. That's legendary Egg Bowl, and no game really encapsulates that more than this edition. Both teams were ranked, which was rare. Ole Miss was 23rd, Mississippi State was ranked 18th. The Bulldogs fell behind 20-6, but a furious comeback saw them tie the game with just 27 seconds left. Ole Miss went long on a Romero Miller pass rather than play for OT on the road. Miss State DB Robert Bean tipped and then kicked the pass into the arms of teammate Eugene Clinton, who returned it to the Ole Miss 27. And kicker Scott Westerfield drilled the game-winning 44-yarder for a Bulldogs win.
From 44 yards for the win.
For Ole Miss, their best play is actually 11 of them. In the closing 4 minutes of the 1992 game, Mississippi State had one shy of a dozen cracks at the end zone from inside the 15-yard line. They were trailing by just a touchdown. That's when the Rebels, who weren't even supposed to be any good this year, got to stymieing. All State managed was an interception, some stuffed runs, and a few errant passes. For the first time in 3 decades, both teams were actually already bowl eligible entering this matchup. But the Bulldogs were so shaken, they went ahead and lost the Peach Bowl for good measure. Again, I love this game, and with all the history it has to offer, we didn't even get into all the luminaries like Wayne Madkin, who's still the winningest quarterback in Mississippi State history. He has a pair of Egg Bowl victories and just generally deserves props for being cool. Also cool, Ole Miss's Kent Austin. He went 3-1 as a starting quarterback in the Egg Bowl. But more importantly, he also had some serious 1980s quarterback hair, which matters when we're talking rivalries. Am I saying that the Egg Bowl is a game with the best teams, the highest stakes, or even the best football sometimes? Hardly. Not at all. Absolutely not. What I am saying is it's the game that, year in and year out, gets to the heart of true rivalry, no matter the stakes. Both teams play like the balance of the world is on the line, even if both teams seemingly have nothing to play for. And in that effort, sometimes the weirdest, most outlandish thing you've ever seen will inevitably happen.